I'm a woman of 28 years old, and my name is Sophia. I've been dealing with complicated family issues lately. When I was 10 years old, my parents were divorced, and it was a very painful experience. My mother left the house after the divorce, and I spent a number of years living with my father. Only the two of us were there. I believed that because we were close, we could discuss anything. But as I got older, I learned a lot of things that my father had kept from me since I was a little child. I met a 50-year-old woman called Amanda through my father. He hadn't disclosed to me that he had been seeing her for a while. Despite the pain this secret caused me, I chose to stand with my father. Angelica, Amanda's 25-year-old daughter, moved in with us a few months after my father and Amanda were married. My life was totally altered by this. I had a stepsister all of a sudden. I am more of an introvert than Angelica, who is very outgoing and energetic. Although we were courteous to one another, we never grew close. I was happy to be away from the new family structure when I left home at the age of 18 to attend college. I concentrated on my academics and made a lot of new acquaintances once I graduated from college. I eventually found a job in the town where I had gone to college and made the decision to move there. Our interactions are restricted to the times I spend on vacation with my mother, father, and Amanda. I only get to see Angelica when I'm in town for birthday presents or family gatherings. As time went on, Angelica and her 27-year-old husband John, together with kids 2-year-old Ava and 4-year-old Liam, just relocated to my city. Angelica is a full-time housewife who does not work, and they came here because John obtained a new position at a technological startup. My father called me when they initially arrived here and requested me to assist them in adjusting to their new life. I consented even though I didn't like the notion. I helped them find a place to live, helped them relocate, and gave them a tour of the city. I had assumed everything was over, but it wasn't. After a week or so of their move, Angelica began to bring the kids to my apartment every night and asked me to keep them while she went out. I first consented to keep our connection positive, but it quickly became second nature. She typically pays me a visit after work, and I work from home as a graphic designer. But I used to utilize that evening time for chatting with friends or working on personal projects. Spending time with youngsters often makes me feel nervous, and I don't much enjoy them. Angelica always comes up with an excuse when I propose that she employ a babysitter. Her insistence is, "Just this once. I'm still not familiar with this new city," she admits. I started to feel like she was using me last Friday. I had been anticipating a close buddy's advancement for a long time, and I was planning to celebrate it with a friend. I informed Angelica that morning that I would not be able to watch the kids that night. I assumed that was the end of it when she responded, "Okay." I was relieved when I got off work at 6:00 p.m. Angelica arrived at my house with Liam and Ava just before I was ready to go, gave them to me silently, and quickly drove away. She didn't answer when I tried to reach her. John did not reply when I attempted to contact him either. Ultimately, I was forced to postpone my plans and remain at home with the kids. I was furious. Although Angelica had previously derailed my plans, this was the first time she disregarded my request to watch the kids. Before Angelica arrived to bring up the kids at 9:00 p.m., I was stranded with them. She said it was not a big problem and disregarded it as an emergency when I challenged her about her actions. She did not clearly respond to my inquiries. In order to prevent such circumstances in the future, I strongly suggested that she find a trustworthy babysitter. Angelica lost her temper, called me a jerk, and said that family members ought to help one another. I was so angry at the time that I told her we weren't a true family. She was acting as though we were actual sisters due of our parents' marriage, even though we hadn't interacted before she arrived here. I requested her not to bring the kids over until contacted, and I made it very plain that I no longer intended to babysit. Angelica walked out crying. Although I was furious, I was glad that I had established boundaries. The following day, I got a call from my father, just when I thought everything was finished. He was upset and informed me that Angelica had called him in tears, accusing me of being cruel to the kids. "You have an obligation to continue caring for Angelica's children," he stated. "She deserves your apology. As a family, you are accountable for this." He added that I should be more flexible and cooperative. I tried to express my viewpoint, but he would not listen. I told him how I had been used repeatedly by Angelica, how my plans had been ruined, and how my time and privacy were not respected. But he just repeated that I should be more flexible and cooperative. Then he said something that hurt me deeply. He accused me of being selfish and expressed his disappointment that I had become that way. He emphasized that Amanda and Angelica have become part of my family and insisted that I should accept that. He also pointed out how much I had distanced myself from them since his marriage to Amanda, speaking as if I still held a grudge. I was shocked by his words and argued that they were his family, not mine. As an independent adult, I have my own life and responsibilities, and I cannot spend my time just being Angelica's babysitter. The discussion escalated into a heated argument, and my father threatened to end our relationship if I did not apologize to Angelica and resume babysitting. I was deeply hurt and angered by this. I asserted that I am independent and do not need financial support from my father. Moreover, if he truly chooses to cut ties with me, it just shows that we were not as close as I thought. After ending the call with my father, I received messages from Amanda and other relatives. They criticized me for being unfair to Angelica and argued that I should show more understanding toward a young mother struggling in a new city. I also received accusatory calls from some aunts about the deteriorating family relations. Although there was no direct contact from Angelica herself, she posted on social media that families should support each other, quoting words that define family not just by blood or sisterly relationships. Her actions seemed clearly aimed at making me feel guilty. I am confused about whether I am in the wrong. I believe it is unfair for Angelica to expect me to babysit for free at any time, and I feel that the threats from my father are unjustified. However, I have doubts about whether I have been too harsh on Angelica. Amanda is not truly my family. I am tormented by guilt and wonder if I should have been more tolerant towards Angelica. Maybe I should have made more effort to deepen our relationship when we were younger. Still, I harbor anger and resentment, feeling that my opinions and boundaries are not respected. After my parents' divorce, I emphasized freedom and learned to rely on myself. I studied hard in school, earned scholarships in college, and built a career to ensure success. I am not accustomed to coexistence, and honestly, I do not want to feel responsible for being relied upon. Yet I genuinely care about Liam and Ava, and I cannot remain indifferent to this situation where they bear no responsibility. I do not want the children to feel rejected, but having a family member who does not want to babysit is not in their best interest. I have discussed this issue with friends, and opinions vary. Some think I am too harsh, while others suggest I should build a better relationship with Angelica. I believe in setting boundaries, and Angelica has the right to them. Uncertain about how to proceed, I am torn between apologizing and standing my ground. This situation has become overwhelming, and I cannot find a solution. I hope not to sever ties with my father, but I also do not want to be exploited through this situation. I am questioning many things about family and myself. Am I truly selfish, as my father suggests? Do I perhaps still harbor unresolved feelings about his remarriage? Maybe I should have built a closer relationship. I continue to contemplate how to handle my long-term relationship with Angelica and what it would have been like if my mother were here. Since the divorce, contact with my mother has been sporadic, as she lives a nomadic life within the country. I can only guess what she might think about this. I feel overwhelmed. 2 weeks have passed, and the situation has only become more complex. I have made the decision to stand my ground. I have not apologized to Angelica, nor resumed babysitting duties. As a result, Tensions within the family have escalated. Communication with my father has completely ceased, and he continues to post sarcastic messages about our family's false values and the significance of nieces and nephews on social media. Previously, I used to talk to my father at least once a week, but at that time we have no contact. I reassure myself that this is the best course of action and that I am setting appropriate boundaries, yet my heart still aches. My stepmother, Amanda, has tried several times to mediate and bring about reconciliation between Angelica, my father, and me, saying she understands my position. She says that families often need compromises, but I feel my feelings are being dismissed. I am focusing on my work and taking on additional tasks to forget about the family issues. I have also started freelancing projects. I have increased my visits to the gym and started a new hobby of painting. Engaging in creative activities amidst the business provides me some solace. Last week, an unexpected event occurred that changed everything. While working at a local cafe, I heard a familiar voice. It was John. He was sitting at a table with an unfamiliar woman. At first, I thought she was a work colleague, but then I realized that was not the case. He was holding her hand across the table. They were talking quietly and looking at each other, suggesting that their relationship was not a good one. Shocked, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I couldn't imagine John being intimately involved with another woman during work hours. Confused and unsure what to do, I debated whether to confront him or take a picture as evidence, but in the end, I left the cafe without taking any action. When I got home, the scene I had just witnessed replayed in my mind. I avoided confronting John. I debated whether to tell Angelica about this fact, but I wasn't sure she would believe me. Our relationship was already shaky, and accusing her husband of infidelity could have worsened the situation. I pondered this issue all day and into the evening of the next day. Then I received a call from Angelica, but I almost didn't answer, thinking it was another babysitting request. However, something made me pick up the phone. Angelica was crying and asked to visit my house. Considering her reason might be related to John, I agreed to her request. She looked extremely worn out, with swollen eyes and a look of not having slept for a long time. But this was not because of John. Angelica confessed that she had lied about having important errands when she left her children with me. She revealed that she was undergoing treatment for postpartum depression and anxiety disorder since the birth of Ava. She had been struggling constantly and cried as she talked. She felt inadequate as a mother and had not told her family anything because of her fear of being judged. During therapy, she had left her children with me, which shocked me. I felt a mix of sympathy for Angelica, anger at her deceit and use of me, and regret for having judged her harshly. I told her that I understood the difficult situation she was facing, but I could not accept her lying and leaving her children with me without planning. We talked for a long time. Angelica apologized for not disclosing her actions sooner and promised to look for a reliable babysitter. I expressed that I cannot regularly babysit, but I am willing to help if notified in advance. As we talked more, I began to see Angelica from a completely different perspective. Even though she seems successful on the surface, I realized that she struggles just as much as anyone else. This made me painfully aware of how little I understood her life and how quickly I had judged her. Angelica also spoke about the loneliness she felt after moving to a new city, and she was happy that we could become closer. After that, we both felt that we could truly be together. A sisterly bond unlike anything we had experienced before blossomed between us. She apologized for being too forceful and for not respecting my boundaries. I also shared my feelings with her, talking about the alienation I felt after my father's remarriage and the difficulties I faced adjusting to the new family. We exchanged stories from our childhoods and shared memories and perspectives we had never discussed before. We were in the middle of repairing our relationship. I debated whether to tell Angelica about John's actions, and ultimately I chose to tell her the truth. I carefully explained the incident at the cafe. Angelica's reaction was not what I expected. She did not react with surprise or anger, but began speaking calmly. I already knew about what John was doing. It turned out that the woman John was secretly meeting was actually his half-sister. John was adopted as a child and had only recently found his biological family. He had not been ready to tell Angelica or anyone else in the family, as he was meeting his half-sister secretly. He was worried about how this fact would affect his adoptive parents and other family relationships. While I was relieved that John was not having an affair, I felt uncomfortable that he had deceived the family. I pointed out to Angelica that if everyone had been honest from the start, this situation could have been avoided. Angelica agreed and said she would discuss with John the need for more openness in the family. She also promised that our relationship would be more open in the future. We ended the day feeling lighter. The next day, I contacted my father and shared how Angelica and I had resolved our issues. I intend to continue my relationship with Angelica and will look after the children as needed, but I also made it clear that my limits must be respected. Surprisingly, my father understood, apologized for his previous reactions, and acknowledged that he had been putting pressure on me. We vowed to improve our communication and respect each other's boundaries. We also discussed the past. We had a difficult conversation about how his remarriage affected me and how we had drifted apart over time. It seemed like we were finally addressing a topic we had avoided for years. Although it appeared that the situation was heading towards resolution, I still felt tense. Our family still harbors many secrets and unspoken anxieties. While I am glad that I could sort things out with Angelica, I feel that there is still something unresolved. A month has passed, and the situation has not improved. My concerns were confirmed last week. Angelica called me in a hurry. She was crying so hard that her words were almost inaudible. After calming her down, she shared a terrifying piece of news. John was not just meeting his half-sister. He was having an affair with her. Angelica had suspected that John was repeatedly meeting someone, so she followed him one day. She found him meeting a woman not at the usual coffee shop, but at a hotel. She confronted John, and he confessed. John claimed he felt a new connection with his half-sister and attempted to justify his actions, but Angelica was shocked and deeply hurt. I was shocked, too. I regretted not taking more proactive action when I saw John with the woman. I tried to comfort Angelica over the phone, but she was distraught and decided to leave John. Despite our past disagreements, she asked if she and the children could stay at my house during this difficult time. I could not leave her alone in her time of need, so I agreed for the children to stay. The next day, Angelica and the children moved into my house. It was a very challenging move. My home is not designed for small children. Angelica and the children are emotional, crying and bursting out in anger. I try to support them, but it only adds to my suffering and makes the situation worse. John has repeatedly contacted Angelica and has visited my home multiple times, further complicating the situation. I had to threaten to call the police to drive him away. Everyone is suffering, including the children, who do not understand what is happening. My father contacted me with a worried tone, saying he had important news and wanted to meet. I was deeply shaken by the shocking fact my father revealed. It turned out that John's half-sister is also my half-sister. My father confessed that he had a brief romantic relationship with John's biological mother long before he met my stepmother. That woman had a daughter, and John had an affair with her. I was stunned to learn that my father had kept this secret for years. 30 years ago, a DNA test done by John's half-sister matched several members of our family, and that was when my father first learned of the fact. He contacted her and learned the full story. I felt like my worldview had been turned upside down. I was shocked that everything I had believed about my family was a lie and felt anger toward my father for keeping such a secret. My disappointment in John's betrayal mixed with frustration at myself for not realizing it sooner. I have not yet told Angelica about this latest revelation, as she is already dealing with so much. I am worried about how it will affect her and my own life. She is near her breaking point, but I know I will have to tell her eventually. Lately, I have been feeling mentally disoriented. I am trying to support Angelica while also coming to terms with the emotions stirred by the discovery of my new sister. I have taken time off work to deal with these issues, but I am unsure how much longer I can endure. I am considering therapy to help solve all these problems and trying to spend my days as calmly as possible. I reached out to a few friends for support, but it was difficult to explain that my brother-in-law was having an affair with his hidden half-sister. How do you even begin to explain something like that? It feels like an over-the-top drama with so many things to consider: Angelica, the children, John's custody issues, and my half-sister. I was overwhelmed and unable to cope with everything. Still, I am doing my best to provide Angelica and the children with a stable environment, despite my own turmoil. I have also tried to take care of myself. I have been keeping a journal to sort through my emotions and engaging in activities I enjoy. 3 months have passed. Much has changed. I eventually told Angelica that John's mistress is our half-sister. She was devastated once again, but it was the closure she needed. She filed for divorce and obtained a restraining order against John. The legal process has been complex, but Angelica has handled it with grace. Angelica and the children stayed with me for about a month, but then she found her own small apartment and started working part-time at a local bookstore. She is slowly finding her own way to live her new life. This experience has brought us closer than ever. I occasionally babysit Angelica's children, but only under the conditions I set, and Angelica respects my boundaries. We have not yet reached out to our half-sister, and it's unclear when or if we will be ready. Her existence, along with John's actions, makes it difficult to establish a relationship with her. I still feel tension with my father and harbor anger toward him. We have had several difficult conversations about the important secret he kept hidden for so long. These talks have challenged trust, honesty, and the impact of his decisions. My father has been seeing a therapist to confront his shame and figure out how to rebuild trust with the family. Progress is slow, but we are moving forward. Additionally, I attend therapy, which has assisted me in establishing sound boundaries and processing my feelings. In the middle of this crisis, I am realizing how important it is to put my mental health first. After everything was made public, I reached out to my mother once again. Someone who wasn't directly engaged was the person I needed to talk to. My mother has been a consistent source of emotional support, and we had a profound talk. I am really glad to have her back in my life, and we are working on mending our relationship. I then made the decision to step away from everything. I needed some time away from the family disputes so that I could start a self-discovery trip. I was in Hawaii for a month. My perspective was widened by the encounter. My family is important to me, but they are not everything. The folks who respect your limits and don't pressure you to compromise your pleasure or principles are the ones who really matter. Rebuilding trust will take time, and I cannot foretell my family's future. I am currently concentrating on my recovery and development. I'm reconsidering my definition of family and encircling myself with positive influences. Angelica and I communicate frequently, and she is concentrating on her kids, her new career, and becoming well again. She is navigating her divorce with surprisingly resilience. Next summer, we are organizing a trip for the kids, something to look forward to. I believe John has moved out of town. I don't know the specifics, and to be honest, I'm not interested. He attempted to make amends with his adoptive family when his affair with his half-sister ended horribly. I am, nonetheless, slowly mending my connection with my father. We still talk to each other once a week. Things are getting better, even though they aren't entirely back to normal. My father is trying to be more open and truthful with the whole family, not just with me. We have gained a profound understanding of forgiving others, being resilient, and the value of being sincere as a result of this experience. We've also realized that it's never too late to start a relationship.